Come on. I know it's all around me. Give me a little extra. Give me a little extra. I'm greedy. I'm the table. Thank you, table.
Shit's about to go down. I'm feeling something in my spirit.
Chats and Tatts with Della Vedova.
Sullen Clothing, my good friends over there, Ryan and Jeremy. I've been working with these guys for over 20 years. They're amazing. Thank you guys for your support. And I also wanted to add, if you're a tattoo artist out there who is interested in maybe doing a collaboration with these guys, they're always looking for new talent, new ideas. Feel free to hit them up at design@sullenclothing.com. They'd love to hear from you. And again, Ryan, Jeremy, Sullen, all the boys over there, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Hello, friends, lovers of art and creativity. Welcome back to Chats and Tatts with me, your host, Della Vedova. I don't know. Let me be honest. I probably avoided this particular episode because of my own hangups around money. I know for a lot of us, money is sort of the dirty word, isn't it? It's just like, why would you talk about money at a moment like this? Especially as an artist. To talk about money is almost like you're saying you're not an artist. Why would you even bring it up? Disgusting. But the reality is, after owning these shops for 20 years and watching these artists come and go, one of the biggest stressors and blocks I've seen for people that really jams their life up is their relationship with money. And I've, of course, done a lot of work on my own relationship with money. I've been able to do pretty well. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've got it all figured out. I would always love more. But really, money can give us freedom. You know, the idea that money can't buy happiness, that's not true. That ultimate happiness, ultimate contentment, probably not. But I think a first step in that direction is to have your money in order, because that buys you freedom. And with freedom, you can work on yourself and you can follow your passions and your dreams more easily. So I don't know how that wouldn't matter when you're an artist, because I know for me, art is like sex. If I'm not in the mood, I'm not going to make great art, and nothing will put me in a worse mood than having a lack of money. So from that perspective, I have come around to the point of being like, hey, I want to talk about this. And I happened to meet this gentleman who has really gotten deep on the subject. He's also a tattoo artist. He owns his own shop in Brooklyn, New York, Low Down Tattoo. He is the host of a show called The Artful Dollar. He's a podcast host. He's a seeker. I'll let him tell you a little more about that, a spiritual seeker. But he's also a financial coach, and he helps thousands of tattoo artists and other entrepreneurs and creatives on how to, really get more squared up with their relationship to money. He's also a father with a 4-year-old little girl. So he's an amazing human being who's full of light, full of love. And when I saw him on Instagram, I just knew, I'm like, I got to meet this guy personally. And then I asked him to come on the show, and he said yes. Flew all the way out here from Brooklyn to be here today. So first of all, everybody, please help me welcome my guest today, Ryan Roy.
Man, thank you for that introduction.
You're welcome.
Probably the best introduction I've ever gotten.
Oh my gosh, I'm just winging it over here. You deserve every word of that. Oh, I don't know. First of all, thank you for coming all the way out here. I mean, it's not like you were just up in LA. You came all the way out here. Thank you for making the journey. That's huge. I know you are a busy man like everybody else, and to cut away time to be here, it means a lot to me. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it was important for me to come. I really felt that. Like something was like, go out there, even just for 3 days, go hang out. And so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And like I said in the introduction, I really think what you're doing is important. I do. It's our industry is plagued with a bunch of people who have really poor relationships with money.
Only our industry, nowhere else.
Yeah, good point. I agree. Everywhere. Right. Why don't I even say it that way? I guess I'm just...
No, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's heightened in our industry. It's, the pirate lifestyle. Everybody...
I mean, I will say this. I work mostly with tattooers. We do work with people outside of tattooing. But I say, if I can help a tattoo artist save their first $10,000 of their life, I can help anyone do it. Because tattooers... and myself included, I very much so have been in this boat in my life. I was horrible with money.
Yeah.
And I saw around me how horrible everyone kind of was with it. And so, yeah, if I can help a tattooer do that, I think I could probably help just about anyone.
Because we are special in one regard. I mean, I don't meet many insurance salesmen that at the bar, really embracing the pirate lifestyle. You know, tattooers, there's this ingrained idea that we are outside the fold. And why would we ever adhere to any normal rules and regulations, including caring about an IRA or anything like that? We just have this auto resistance to
It
to
really,
it all.
really is an outlaw art form at its core. And you know what? In some respects, it might always will be, but it wasn't always that way historically, right?
True.
It was a deeply spiritual practice. And
Good
then,
point.
you know, things happened and occurred. But I was, you know, doing some writing recently, and I was like thinking about tattooing and how, you know, I've been tattooing for 15 years, and I've encountered people that one could describe as a meth-addled Neanderthal in tattooing, right? We've met those individuals, God bless them, who are capable of making a six-figure income. And there's actually only one other industry where you can be a meth-addled Neanderthal and earn a six-figure income. You know what that is?
Hair?
Drugs.
Drug dealer?
Drug dealer. And it's a fascinating
Sorry,
thing.
hairdressers.
There are meth-addled, you know, there are, you know, people, but it's very difficult to be struggling with those kind of, you know, and there's certain people that like tattooing offered them an opportunity that they couldn't find anywhere else. And, you know, it was a struggle, you know, so it's something beautiful about tattooing, I think, that we can be these like pretty wild, and ultimately I think I never felt like the world was a place that I felt comfortable fitting in. And so tattooing felt good for me. And so I don't say any of that in disrespect of, I say that as an acknowledgement that I think a lot of tattooers have always felt to some degree, like this thing we got going on in the world, I don't know if I fit in here. And tattooing was like, ooh, I can fit in there and I can actually thrive in it. It occurred as an opportunity. And so I think that's really fucking cool about tattooing.
It is. And you're right. That's why I'm here. Felt the same feelings and found this little island of where I could exist and feel normal.
Yeah.
But it also attracts people with bad habits because the tattoo industry, at least back in the early days, especially me 32 years ago, tolerated that stuff. I mean, you weren't going to get fired because you didn't show up to work because you were partying too hard.
Right.
It was
That's
more like
normal.
you might even get high-fived when you got to work a week later.
Yeah.
And then
In fact, I think I had been at certain shops, like, you know, you get a job at a new shop and everyone's like, who's this guy? What's this guy about? You know? And then like, I think I totally did get wasted and like totally fucked something up one time. And they're like, oh, okay, he's cool. Like,
Right.
you know.
So true. So true. But on that note, because we're kind of there already, I've heard your story, at least a bit of your story, and you were sort of one of these people,
Yeah.
you know, partying your way through the
I was a coke addict. Whiskey addict, you know. I didn't think that's what I was at the time. I just thought, you know, oh, well, I like to drink. And like when I drink, sometimes cocaine seems like a good idea. And then it was like all the time, cocaine seems like a good idea every time I drank. And yeah, I saw, you know, when I was 26.
How old are you now?
I'm 37 now.
Okay. So we're over 10 years ago.
Over 10 years ago, yeah. When I was 26, I just saw the other artists. The shop I was at, I feel like I was described like the glue that held that shop together was whiskey and cocaine. Like that was what allowed the shop to function and operate. And without that, we all murdered each other, you know? And I just saw that and I was like, this isn't the life I want. Like they were 36, 37. So they were 10 years older than me. And I was like, they're doing what I'm doing now 10 years. And I didn't feel good inside. You know, you put on the show, and I'd say I was like a high functioning alcoholic, you know, all my bills got paid. I'm the type of person, like I show up to the shop early. I mop and clean when no one asks me to do it. You know, I'm a high functioning, responsible, I can hide my mess pretty good.
Which is sometimes worse.
Because
you can keep doing it for longer.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, and I recognize that with money as well around that time.
Did you have a moment? Like or is it more of a gradual, it's like, you know, I slowly realized I got to change some shit.
Yeah, it was this realization that there wasn't a moment, but it was this realization that every time I drank, not something bad would happen. But every time something bad would happen, I happened to be drinking. And it was just this like consistent pattern where there were times where I go to the guys, go to the bar, whether we do drugs or not, you know, and like nothing bad happens. But then something happened, or I say something I didn't want to say, or showed up late for something, or what, you know, and I was just like, this is consistently not producing the result that I want to see in my life. And then, around the time, same thing with like money. I was just like always broke all the time. I remember the day I figured out early on in my tattoo career, probably like 3 years in, I realized that I probably made $100,000 this year. And I was like, I have no money. So like how, like I did the math in my mind. I'm like, how, I was like, at least $100,000. How's that fucking possible? And so it was just kind of a lot of these like realizations. And I think I've always thought about my life in terms of decades. So I don't think about the end of the month. I don't think about the end of the year. I think, is what I'm doing now going to work for the next 10 years? And if it's not going to work for the next 10 years, it's not going to work for the next 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah. I'm the same way. I'm always thinking 10 years for whatever reason, decades at a time.
And so seeing these people 10 years older than me and realizing that this isn't going to work, and knowing that alcoholism does run in my family, they do say it like can be a family disease, and it is a disease. Like addiction it's an illness. It's not a moral thing. It's an illness. And I think that is a hard thing for society to fully grasp because of the damage, the side effects, the symptoms of alcoholism and drug addiction can be so brutal on the people around us. But I have so much compassion for anyone that is struggling with addiction. And I've always tried to make myself available to people because now 10 years sober myself, it's kind of what helps me, keeps me present to, oh yeah, even if I were to ever think that a drink was a good idea right now, like I'm working with people, I talk to people that are right there in the trenches of their addiction and their disease. And it keeps it fresh for me to realize that like, that's never going to work for me. My life will never improve if I were to start drinking again. So if you can convince me that my life will improve because if I were to drink, I'll drink again. But until then, drinking doesn't seem like it's in the cards.
Yeah, no. And each person has to, find their way through that. I have been drinking my whole life and I have overdone it in my earlier years many times. I currently, maybe this is justification, but I currently drink moderately. To me, alcohol is a reason to celebrate a special occasion. Me and my wife are on vacation. We're sitting in a nice restaurant. We share a nice bottle of wine, and it's a positive thing in my life.
Yeah.
I don't see the negative effects.
Yeah, there's nothing negative about any drug, in my opinion, actually. Meth, coke, whiskey, I don't think there's anything morally wrong with any of them. And it really is up to the individual to say, you know what, this works or this doesn't work. And if it works, it works. And then maybe sometime it doesn't, it's really... So for me, that was a decision, that was a choice that I had to make to say, yeah, I choose to not drink today. And then I chose that again the next day. And then I chose it again the next day. And I'm choosing it today, Yep.
I respect, dude, 100%. And then how does this sort of lead up to all this ayahuasca you've been doing?
Yeah. So I started participating in ayahuasca ceremonies after about 6 years of sobriety.
Okay, so way
6
later
to 7
on.
years of continuous sobriety. And it was something that always called me. Like I felt like people talk about like it calls me, they feel it. But then when I got sober, I wasn't looking for it. I was just like, oh, well, I used to think I wanted to do that. I had no one really has an idea what it is until it's like sex. You don't, if you don't have sex, anyone can tell you all about sex, but you don't know what it's about until you do it.
Yeah.
And so when I got sober, I was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that because it wasn't a part of sobriety and the ideas around, I don't want to put anything in my body that alters my state of consciousness.
So I want to pause you right there.
Yeah.
I want to pause you right there because I've talked to so many people who are sober, who are struggling on all these other levels. And I've done a lot of mushrooms, LSD, DMT, and I probably after meeting you today, I'm going to be set up for a nice ayahuasca session soon. And I tell a lot of them, like, I really think you should look into some iboga or this. And a lot of them are like, I can't, I'm sober. And I'm always like trying to help them to understand, like, they really are two different things. I mean, one's a drug to me and one's a medicine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I didn't fully grasp that at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I wasn't seeking it. I'll just want to kind of disclaimer, after almost 30 ayahuasca ceremonies now, I don't recommend anyone do ayahuasca. I don't ever tell someone you should do ayahuasca because I have seen people that have done it and I don't believe that they shouldn't have done it, but it didn't seem like it was a positive experience. So I don't want to be the one to tell you should or shouldn't do that. I can share my experience, but you'll know if you're called to do it, and like that's the path.
But it should be noted that it has been, the data indicates that it is very good for reduction of addictive tendencies.
And I've heard that many, 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 many times.
Right.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. And so, yeah, it wasn't something I was hunting for.
And it should be noted, it ain't going to kill you.
It isn't going to kill you.
It's not even going to hurt you. Let me ask you this. Yeah. Let me ask, and I'm with you. By the way, I 100% agree. Yeah. Back when I first did DMT, I was like a DMT fucking preacher. I was running around with a goddamn crack pipe in my back pocket and a fucking powder in my front pocket. I'd slam people into my car, be like, just fucking hit it, dude. You'll see. God. And then I came to that same place that you're at, which is like, what the fuck am I doing? This is.
I was like that when I was first into cryptocurrency. I was like, you gotta figure this out.
I did that too. I kind of do that, I guess. But I slowly got into this place where I don't, if someone comes up to me and they know of me and they ask me, I'm like, oh, lean in. But otherwise, everyone's got to find their own path. But the ayahuasca, again, it does seem to be very good for dealing with addiction, and it's not going to kill you. And do you really know of anyone that it hurt? I mean, I know a bad trip is a bad trip. But I mean, a long term, I've never heard of anyone that
I'll be honest, I know of several cases of people that I know personally that it resulted in circumstances that could have ended their life. I will be completely honest.
Okay. That's the first I've heard of that.
Yeah. And it's not common, but it is something to be noted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that blew my whole pitch.
Yeah. and honestly, if you asked me years ago, I would have, if I hadn't have seen these particular situations and heard of others from other people that in the ayahuasca community that I'm involved in, I wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't have thought, but yeah. So like any medicine, it needs to be taken by and with a prescribed physician, doctor, medicine person. Yeah. And even then, you don't know anytime you're putting something like that, I think one of the hardest things for people who are thinking about doing ayahuasca or any hallucinogen or altered state or plant medicine is that you are letting go of control. You have to let go of control. And when that happens, stuff happens. And now after these experiences, I'm also very aware that whatever happens is truly meant to happen. There are no mistakes. Right. There are no mistakes in this game of life. Now, I don't believe in predetermined, destiny either, but I do know that there are no mistakes.
Well, now you're back to proving my point, which what I heard you say there was some scary things occurred for some of these individuals. None of them did die.
That I know of, yeah.
And that you know of, and that I know of either. And I know a lot of people that have been involved in it. And that crazy experience might have been just the perfect thing for them.
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, I'm not the one to even judge that. I'm going to leave that up to the mother, the divine mother, because she knows more than me. Yeah.
Not our job.
Yeah.
Not our job. Well, okay, so.
But how did I get into it, I think, was because I was sober for 6 years. And
I thought you were going to say that it was part of you getting sober.
Right.
But
so
it wasn't.
It was not. It was not. Yeah. I tattooed someone that she was booking her appointment, and we were actually trading a tattoo for astrology chart reading.
Of course,
as one does. And she was like, oh, I can do my appointment this day or that week. I can't do this week because I'm actually doing an ayahuasca ceremony that weekend. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to tell me more about that when I tattoo you. And I think her coming into my life was a part of the whole divine plan that happens, that you become, you might see glimpses of this divine plan through ayahuasca. And she introduced me to her friends and people that I hope to introduce you to. And that was 4 years ago. And I have since then done, when I go, I do usually like 2 or 3 ceremonies at a time. I just got back from Colombia. I was there for 10 days. Normally I do it in upstate New York, but I got back from Colombia and I did 4 ceremonies while I was out there. So in total, I've sat with the medicine almost 30 times, yeah.
That's another good question. In that realm, I do a lot of research on it. And the DMT thing, revisiting it, I had a lot of friends after we got into it. I got one friend, I think he might have done it over 100 times.
Sure.
And personally, like our first few times doing it together, he changed so rad. I mean, the things he would talk about, and it was great. And then it felt like the next 90 times he did it, it was nothing else changed. So, in the famous Terrence McKenna quote, it was Ram Dass. Once you get the message, hang up the phone. The revisiting.
Not I love to say Ram Dass. Huge Ram Dass fan. Yeah.
Met him in Hawaii. It was fucking dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meditated with him.
Wow.
I was very lucky that happened. But But why the back? Why 30? Why are you going back and back? I mean, how is it serving you?
Yeah, I'll be honest. So the first time I ever did it, I did 2 ceremonies back to back, 2 nights in a row. And I left that experience being like, I don't know that I ever need to do that again.
Mhm.
That was...
I got it.
I got something to describe. If I could describe what particularly the second night, I actually got a pretty wild lesson the first night that I don't know if it's even worth getting into it. But the second night, I experienced an ego death experience, which if you're lucky, you get to experience in an ayahuasca ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like you're dying. It does. And I actually purged. There's purging, which happens, which is actually an important part of the healing process. Is you can call them stagnant energy or just things that don't serve you anymore from your past. You let go of them energetically, physically. Yeah. You purged. You have buckets, and I purged Ryan, all of me, and it was terrifying. I was shook to my core. I saw myself like this. I'm looking at this brown puke in a bucket, but it was me. It was Ryan, and I started crying. And they come to take it away, and they have like biodegradable bags, and they bury it. And I was like, no, please, no. Like, but I'm like, who am I that is upset that I'm dead? And that was fucking, I couldn't wrap my mind around that. Went into this, they call it like a chuma. You call it another dimension or something like that. I saw these ancestral shaman entities welcoming me into this place. When I watch like documentaries on near-death experiences, it reminds me of that night where you see these spirits, these entities welcoming you. And I remember thinking, this is the most beautiful experience I've ever had in my life. It was the most safe, warm, peaceful. And then I had this thought, I don't deserve that. I don't deserve this. And as soon as I had that thought, like I could see the thought floating, and the mother came and she said, we need to remove that thought to continue this journey. And she took the thought out of my mind, the idea that I don't deserve this. And I think I could talk about the topic of deserving,
self-worth.
Yeah. And she's like, we don't need this anymore. Let's get rid of it. And so she pulled that out of my brain. Cool. I crawled outside. I turned into a woman in that moment. I was a woman, and I was pregnant, and I was alone, and I had to give birth, and I was fucking terrified, dude. Like I was like, I had the thought, I was like, I should not have taken ayahuasca. No fucking way. Dear God, please don't let this be happening right now that I have to give birth. This is going to be painful. At that time, my ex-wife was pregnant with my daughter.
Interesting.
And it was like, we had been looking up, researching all this stuff about pregnancy and this and that. And actually my friend who introduced me to the medicine, who I tattooed, she's a doula. And so she was like guiding us on this birth journey. And I remember her in that moment with my bucket praying to God, please don't let this be painful and scary. I remember her saying, birth doesn't have to be painful in the way we see it in the movies. Like sometimes it can actually be gentle and not this horrible experience. And I had that thought, like, maybe this is going to be gentle, please. And I remember the shaman gave me a big cup in the second cup that night. And he looked me dead in the eye and he said, you're going to go deep. I trust you. And he's never said that to me after any other ceremony I've done with him. That's the only time he's ever said that to me. And I was like, I trust Taita. Taita trusts me. I trust Taita. Taita trusts me. And I purged, and my consciousness floated up into the sky and expanded throughout the universe. And I was a mindless entity. I had no concept of objects or names. Nothing had labels. There was no desk. There just was this pure confusion. Awareness. There was this pure confusion. Yeah, nothing had a label. I didn't have language. And I remember that. And then slowly my consciousness was dripped back down into my mind. And I remember feeling like it had been filtered. And so if let's say the operating system, the program, right? You get a new Mac computer, it's Snow Leopard or whatever the fuck they call it, right? Say the old programming that I had was, I am not enough. Maybe that's the name. It had
a virus in it.
Yeah. Or just not enough of a virus. The whole program was just designed to be, I am not enough. And this new program, this new operating system, this upgrade of software was, I'm being safely guided at all times.
Replace that language.
It replaced that language with I'm being safely guided. And I still feel that so deeply to this day. Maybe not as powerfully as I did for like immediately after. And, you could say maybe that's why I keep coming back to some extent. I do see some people almost like chuma chasers, chasing this thing, but it changed me forever. And I will say that the past 15 ceremonies I've done, some of them I'm actually completely grounded and sober the entire time. I drink medicine. I feel a little bit of body discomfort. I don't journey. I don't go anywhere, but I know that the medicine is working on me. And ayahuasca, the experience that your consciousness goes under that you recall afterwards actually isn't. It feels profound. It feels like this, like I met God or I did this. It's actually, and this is my understanding, it's actually not at all what is going on. It's not the healing. It's your interpretation of what is happening, but then there's something happening at a much deeper level on a deeper dimension that you're not aware of that is occurring. And so I go and like
traditional medicine.
Traditional medicine. I go and I have these experiences and I'm like, okay. And I had a good sleep last night and I drank some ayahuasca and like I woke up and I threw up once, and that was it. And then sometimes I do have these really explosive experiences, but the medicine has been very gentle with me over the past, 10 plus. And I'm grateful for that because sometimes it is terrifying. I mean, it's the most terrified I've ever been in my life was during an ayahuasca ceremony. Yeah.
Well, you hear a lot of people speak about this, that it meets you where you're at, right?
It meets you where you're at, yeah.
And, that first or second night with the ayahuasca, obviously you had stuff to be really, really dealt with. Yeah. And now maybe there's less stuff to deal with. But still on a molecular level, taking the medicine, good for you.
Taking my medicine, but I'm not seeking this journey anymore. And it actually feels really good. It feels like relieving that I can go and I can just have one cup tonight. And if I feel called to have a second one, I can, but I don't need to. I don't need to chase this experience. I can just trust that. And now I go, honestly, because of the community, the people that I know there and love. We have these profound conversations, and I love seeing other people go through their transformation. I love seeing other people heal their wounds and their traumas. And so, it's become a pretty big part of my life now in a sense.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Yeah, that's that was cool. And I like the way you articulated that too. I think oftentimes in these situations, people just don't have the words, and that was a really good articulation of your experience and what it did for you. And I love this mantra. I'm going to take it. It's going to be mine until I do ayahuasca. Maybe they'll give me a new one. But I'm being safely guided.
Being safely guided.
I have that thought too. I have this and it was kind of after my DMT experience. And that's kind of was the message. These entities, they did work on me. They shoved these balls of light. And all my hands and feet were tingling.
Surgery on you.
It was like surgery.
I've been there.
And then it was sort of a message of just chill the fuck out. We got you. You're down there. You're down there worrying about everything. And meanwhile, we've got you. We're right here. But I like the way you put that. I am being safely guided. And that's a nice, going back to words, mantra in your mind, especially in times when you're stressed or things are happening. That's really helpful. Yeah. To go back to that. And for you to have such a visceral experience and connection to that mantra 10 times as powerful.
Hey, I'm being safely guided to the Chats and Tatts podcast. Yeah. How cool is that? You know?
That is cool. And I do believe it is. I do believe in free choice, as you said earlier. And the greatest truths are always, they're always, what do they call it? Paradoxes. Exactly.
I say that all the time. The greatest truths are a paradox.
They always are. Yeah. And that's the beauty of the biggest, this universe, is it's not going to make complete sense to us. Yeah. So can you have free choice and be guided and safely, a plan has been laid out for you? Yeah. I think both can happen simultaneously. Because that's the big argument. Oh, so we have no free choice. We're just on this. I'm like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. And it's both.
Our minds are really designed to fit things into a box of what we can understand. And I think that's actually probably one of the biggest problems with humanity is that we have this deep need to understand. And in our attempt to understand, we change things to make them fit our view of the world. Yep. And then it no longer is the truth. Like the Tao we speak of is not the true Tao. So the minute we speak of it, we have altered it.
A tree is not a tree when you call it a tree.
Right.
What is it? What does a baby see when it looks at a tree?
Right.
You can see their reaction to it, or a flower.
Right.
Their eyes go big and they just touch it.
And so we're trying to fit this idea, trying to fit an idea of money, trying to fit an idea of marketing and all these concepts into our perspective. And it's never going to fit perfectly. And so then we just justify it or come up with some excuse or some reason to explain it away so that we feel safe. And we feel like it makes sense. But at its core, the truth, God, reality is paradoxical. And I think I try to embrace that paradox as much as I can.
that's a cool place to be as an artist too, because with great art, there's a lot of paradox.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Sometimes, and this is a really minute example, but I'm just over here drawing circles and weird shapes, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be drawing squares. What am I doing? And I just, and a lot of times I go back to making sense. I get back to the job at hand. And there's been other times where I just let it flow. And next thing you know, a new thing occurs. So I don't know, I'm taking it into art a little bit, but I think we're at this good place in the conversation. Spirituality is a word I'm trying to use less, and I'm trying to replace
I understand.
it. Well, because it's loaded, right?
Yeah,
I could say spirituality and someone's thinking about
That's
Catholicism.
why we were saying we don't like the word manifestation because it's so loaded.
And everyone has what they think it means. They might have been to a seminar that ripped them off.
Right.
And then you say the word manifestation, like, great, that means con artist.
The manifestation we speak of is not the true manifestation.
Yeah, there you go. But spirituality, I'm replacing, I haven't found the right word, but I say a sentence, which is, look, it's not spirituality. It's simply the way the universe works. There is a universe we're in. It has rules. When you abide by these rules, things are more peaceful and more flow and the things we say we want. And when you go against these rules, life becomes more jarring and you get the wrong results or whatever. We can go down that rabbit hole of those two places.
Right.
But there are rules to this universe. And I don't say that from reading a book. I'm 52 years old and, kindness, the simple stuff, honesty.
Yeah.
The universe seems to like people that do that. It doesn't repay you the moment you're honest, but a lifetime of honesty comes back. I mean, I'm now seeing it with certain people I've met over my life and they're dishonest. And, there were years where we were all doing the same. And now I'm 52, they're 50 something. Some of these people have very shitty lives and I like my life. And I can only attribute that towards them not playing by the rules of the universe. So when I look at spirituality, I'm seeking out the rules and I want to know them and I want to abide. But back to my point, I like with you how you have this work you're doing with spirituality, we'll call it. I just wanted to kind of give it a definition.
Right.
And you're bringing that to the financial world, to economics, to money. And I think that's really great, instead of the other way around, right?
Yeah.
Putting your money towards spirituality.
Right.
So from that perspective, tell us about that. Like I know obviously if someone calls you up and they become a client of yours, you're going to end up getting down to brass tacks. You're going to help them. You're going to see their documents. You're going to look at their bank statements and you're going to make a plan.
Absolutely. There's going to be very practical stuff. And I did work as a financial advisor, a licensed advisor with a wealth management firm. I had gotten my Series 65 financial advisor's license after 13 years of tattooing, which I was probably the only licensed tattoo artist and financial advisor in the world.
First one I met.
Yeah. We're in the process now. I don't work with a firm. So technically at this moment, I am not a licensed advisor. I'm a financial coach. I'm actually starting, it's called Artful Dollar Capital, LLC. It's our investment advisory firm, which I'll be registered under. And if and when at that point, I'll work as an advisor again. And so the practical, like, what do you do with money stuff is a super important conversation. And I love talking about it. And I have a lot of freedom around talking about that stuff because of bringing my spiritual practices to look at my relationship with money. And so if I could say in the simplest terms, what is spirituality? What is its purpose in my life? What am I talking about when I talk about spirituality? I use spiritual practices and tools and lessons to bring a sense of being, not just feeling, but being whole and complete in anything in my life. So I could use that for relationships. I can use it for money. I can use it for art, but being whole and complete, being safely guided, not that thing that thought it was not enough, that was removed from my consciousness, that didn't deserve, right? Spirituality brings me to a place where I feel whole and complete in any circumstance, under any conditions.
Including money.
And then from there, what is money? It's a completely made up story. It's a narrative. That's all money is. If you really want to say, well, what really is money? You can talk about what is money. People give you a different answer. What is it? It's a narrative. It's a story that someone made up a long time ago. They told someone else about it. They thought it was a good idea. They did it. And someone else learned about it. And it's a big game of telephone. And so now there's all these different definitions of it, but it's ultimately a story and a narrative. And I view like money will fill whatever vessel you bring to it. And so whatever your story or narrative is around money will be that.
I have to stop you right there because you had a quote and I had to repeat it because I loved it. This is great, everybody. Listen to this. This is so brilliant. Instead of asking, quote, how do I make more money? Start asking, who do I need to unbecome to allow more money into my life? I think that's brilliant. That is,
Yeah.
And that really, I mean, that happens with love and relationships and health and everything else. But that is so true. Unbecome. What habits and thought patterns and narrative do I have circling around in my head
That I need to let go of.
there you go.
Yeah. Someone commented on that post and they were like, oh, what else do I have to sacrifice for capitalism? I was like,
You're not getting it.
you're not getting it. And that's, we can get into the whole marketing thing. It's like, I have to accept, and I think goes for any good marketing and just any human being that's looking to be more authentic in their lives. You have to accept the fact that your authenticity is going to be misunderstood by other people.
Yeah.
And so when they misunderstand, and remember I said we're always trying to understand. We're always trying to fit everything into the logical box that we built for our version of reality. When we misunderstand, it's scary. And so in order to deal with that fear, we need to attack. We need to go on the offensive. And so I do get attacked all the time on social media. It doesn't bother me. I accept that fact that if I'm going to be talking about money, which is such a deeply triggering topic for most people, not everyone, but a lot of people it is, that there's going to be people that are bothered by what I have to say. And there's going to be people that are deeply helped and deeply impacted in a positive way by what I have to say. And so if being the tattoo money guy, which I never fucking wanted to be because ew, but if that's what I have to be to make the impact on people's lives that I know and feel called to make, then I will accept that every damn day.
That's really cool of you to do that because I hear you, man. I know there was a big part of you that resisted becoming this
I was
person.
terrified, dude. Terrified.
Yeah.
And I was working with a coach. I was working with a marketing coach. And this is back in 2020 when I started my financial coaching business. So maybe I need to back up a little bit, but I started this. It was a good idea. I was like, someone should be a financial coach for tattooers. Someone needs to help these people because I was on my own financial journey. But I was busy tattooing. I was full-time tattooer. I was running a shop. And there was no time to even entertain doing that. And then COVID happened. I had to temporarily close my studio. I had a 4-month-old baby. All of the supplemental whatever income from unemployment from the government was paying my studio rent for my landlord that I rented my tattoo studio from. And I'm like, that fucking sucks. So I had no income. I did have savings, thankfully, because I had been on my own financial journey and healing my relationship with money and building savings for the first time in my life because I never could do that. And I was like, I have a 4-month-old baby. I have no income. I need to make money. Maybe this financial coaching thing that I've been thinking about, maybe I need to do it. And it was terrifying. And so I was working with this marketing coach because I wasn't good at marketing. I was pretty terrible at it. And we can get into that. Like, you didn't need to be good at marketing for most. I mean, you've been tattooing for 30 plus years. Were you great at marketing for most of that time?
You didn't have to be.
You didn't have to be.
I still cry over that changed.
Yeah. And look, let's all mourn that for a second. Let's all, like, everyone, like a moment of silence.
Yes.
Because that was a good fucking time. That
was the best time. I used to brag to everybody about tattooing. I'd say, you want to know the best part of my career is it's the simplest, most honest form of work I've ever found. If you are committed and you're good at it, they come, you make money, you go home. It's fucking easy. No marketing, no business, and
just show up. You could be a meth-addled Neanderthal and show up in the middle of fucking nowhere, and with a tattoo machine, as long as you can trace a line halfway decently, you could make a living as a tattooer. And that was the way it was. Now, I'm not advocating that that's all it takes. No, tattooing is the hardest fucking thing I ever did. If you had, few more brain cells than that guy and the slightest bit of marketing, you could make $150K a year.
That was me. I had a little more brain cells and a little more of that growing up in an entrepreneurial family. And so I was able to capitalize when the shift started to occur. I was just a little more ready to jump in than others.
And I think I was as well. And I'll say there was some things that I got lucky. I tattooed someone that knew about SEO optimization years ago. And I was like, cool, I'll tattoo you. You can optimize my website for a search engine. And then I made, I don't know, close to over $150,000 just from her editing my website, changing some words around and doing a couple things over a couple years just from some simple marketing. So, but I was terrible at marketing. So I was terrible at money. I was terrible at marketing. Ryan, the financial coach, is here to tell you, but that's the truth. Like, I think that's kind of what is a little bit unique about me is that I know what the fuck it's like to suck and hate these things. And I'm healing my relationship with marketing. I'm healing my relationship with money. I'm healing my relationship with time. And so I worked with this coach, and there was a moment where I was like getting back, and we had opened up again after COVID, and I'm starting to tattoo again. But I like started this coaching thing, which wasn't making any money because I didn't know how to market. And I realized he was like, he's like, just so you're clear with yourself, like, do you want to tattoo and coach on the side? Or do you want to like really be a full-time financial coach? Like, what do you really want? And I was terrified to admit to myself, because I thought it was blasphemous to say that I don't want to tattoo for the rest of my life. Because I think in the gospel of traditional tattooing, it's like, it's, to the grave, tattoo to the grave. I was like, I really want to do this. I want to be all in. And I knew that was an authentic expression of who I was. I wasn't lying to myself. There's no point in lying to myself about that. And so I started to learn about marketing, and it was fucking scary. You look at Ryan's Instagram page, if you scroll all the way down, it's still there. If you go all the way down to Ryan Roy Tattoo and you scroll down to where there's just tattoos, there's one video. I'm like, hi, I'm Ryan. Let's talk about your retirement account. Like, it was like the first video, and I leave it up there because I need to look back on it and remember how much I sucked at making content and everything, and how terrified I was at that moment. But I was like, I need to say this. And I remember people immediately commenting, be like, my retirement account holds 6 rounds. And I'm like, whatever, dude, And then someone DM'd me, and they were like, I just want to say, like, thank you for talking about that, because this stuff's really scary and no one's talking about it. And just hearing you at all being willing to openly talk about this on social media is really helpful. So thanks. And I was like, that one DM, it made me be like, okay, I will deal with all the grouchy whoever that are going to comment. I don't care what they think. This is needed in the world, and I'm going to do it anyway.
Find a need and fill it, they say,
Yeah.
in life. And that's, rad, dude. I mean, and you're absolutely right. I mean, everybody needs this. The relationship with money is very poor with most people, except for the ones that seem to have it. And and again,
I don't even them. Look, Mr. Bezos, I promise you, he suffers about money. I promise you. And you know why I know that? Because I've worked with several clients that are multiple 7-figure clients they have told me that they actually feel more stressed about money now than when they were earning $100K a year.
I would like to believe that wouldn't happen to me.
It's an illusion. Unless not even unless, you will want to look at your relationship with money. You will want to take the spiritual tools that you've learned and you'll want to bring them and apply them to your relationship with money. But I will say that as my income grows, I experience moments of pain and challenge that I never had to deal with before that are in some ways more painful than the lack of money. And I know that's like people are gonna hear that, and you can do with that what you will.
But you wouldn't switch it.
I wouldn't switch it. And when those moments come up, I now have these tools that I use that, oh my God, like, save me. And then that challenging, hard, difficult, painful reality that I am faced and have to come up with solutions for, I can be whole and complete in that and make decisions and choices and actions that are more aligned with the future I want to create versus the scared, afraid vision of the future that I don't want to create. And so that, in some way, is, I feel, how manifestation works. Is like, I'm whole and complete. I'm clear about the future I'm creating. There's a hard thing in front of me. Which way am I going to go?
Well, there's some key words there, which I think leads me to one of the things I really wanted you to talk about, which is the scared, fearful thoughts of the future, which are really prolific in the tattoo industry right now. As you know, I mean, I have several friends and colleagues around that are really freaking out. Business isn't what it was last year, and maybe this year a little too, probably this year too. And everyone's wondering what's going on and where the tattoo industry is going. I heard you speak on this, and you were talking about the increase in market cap, and I'll let you put it into your words.
Sure.
But tell us a little bit about your thoughts around where tattooing was, what changed, and what we should expect.
Yeah. I want to preface this too by, like, don't take anything I say as like the truth. Just like use it to look out at your own experience or what you're seeing in the world and see if it sticks and it lands and it's useful, great. And if not, don't worry about it. Like, maybe Ryan's full of shit. Maybe I'm completely full
But don't
of shit.
DM him that, guys. Don't be one of those trolls.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay if you do. I love my trolls. Y'all boost my engagement, so thank you. So, been tattooing for 15 years, and like we said, back in the day, you just needed to show up with a tattoo machine. And if you were a halfway decent or a little bit better than your average tattooer, like you could make easily 6 figures, in my opinion. I started tattooing in the Lower East Side in Manhattan, working at a street shop from 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. till 4 a.m. tattooing
Damn.
the creatures of the night that party in Lower Manhattan, and walking out with fistfuls of money and the sun's rising. So it was easy. It was really, I'm 23 years old, making 6 figures. It was crazy. And then all throughout my career, every year, it got easier to make more money in tattooing. And then Instagram and then Ink Masters and all these other things show up, and it just got easier and easier to make money as a tattooer every year, especially if you were hardworking and dedicated and, did it right. And obviously COVID was interesting, and all this COVID stimulus money came in, and everyone's aware that there was that month, whatever that month was that we opened up again, was the busiest month. I think I did $20,000 in tattoo income in that month. It was the busiest month of my whole life. I was like, holy shit.
We saw the same,
Yeah.
similar things.
Yeah. And then that drained out, right? But is that it? And is that just it? And then it'll just balance out again. People blame the economy. People blame inflation. People blame the oversaturation of tattooing. So we're at a point you could look at it, and I look at things from a very business standpoint. I pretty much have a pretty strong business background at this point. The tattoo industry, first of all, I grew up in New York City. When I was 10 years old, tattooing was illegal. So it's a very infantile industry. It was a baby. And maybe when I got into tattooing in my early 20s, it was an adolescent or a teenager. And now tattooing's an adult. It's a full-grown adult, and has to take on grown-up responsibilities. And so to be a professional tattooer, the definition, in my opinion, is changing of what it means to be a professional tattooer. Just like what it means to be a professional painter is very different. You can be a painter and you can be a professional painter. The difference is a professional painter has to market themselves. They have to figure out revenue and income and balance taxes and all these things. And a hobby painter doesn't have to do that, right? Is there any other difference?
No, that's fair enough.
Those are the difference.
Yeah.
And so tattooing is now in its adulthood. And all of a sudden we're like, what? I have to deal with taxes, and you mean I have to market myself? Oh, dear God. And we didn't have to do that. And so there's this gap between what used to be required to be a successful tattooer, to be a professional tattooer, what was required, and what's needed now to be a professional tattooer is way different. And if I ask you your honest opinion, like, from here on out, we're in 2024, do you feel like it's going to get easier or harder? It got easier every single year, like I said, but from here on out, do you think it's going to get easier or harder to make a living as a tattooer?
For me or for the industry?
The general industry.
I think it's going to be harder.
And why?
Because you're going to have to do all these adult things you just mentioned. And for a lot of folks, I don't think they are aware that needs to happen or are unwilling to do so.
Yeah.
So I guess there's 2 groups. I just see it like a division is going to occur. And you're going to have the pros that treat it just like an insurance broker and everybody else in this world.
Or a dentist practice.
Or a dentist practice.
Or a barber practice. Or a hair, or a plumber, or whatever it is, right? Yeah.
They're fully mature industries. Yeah. And the people that survive and thrive in those industries are doing all the things you're speaking of.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see a cleansing. And the ones who continue forward will continue to thrive.
And look, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, that's just the natural, like, you can accept it, you can embrace it, or you can go against it and say, no, I don't want that. I don't want to accept what's so. But this is the reality. This is what's so.
As an example to that, I had a 20-year tattoo artist, local tattoo artist here in San Diego, call me up a few months ago, wanting to work as a receptionist. And I was like, I'm not going to hire. I looked at his work. It was okay.
Yeah.
And I thought it was an angle to get a job. And he's like, oh, no, I never want to work for you. I'm never tattooing again. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I can't. I'm not good enough anymore. Like, you've got to do this. You got to do that. You got to do this. And I don't have what it takes. I'm fine with it. It's currently a line cook right now. And I didn't hire him because I thought it was just a conflict of interests and for whatever. This is the first time I've had these shops 20 years. I've never had that phone call.
That is not a phone call that you would get.
No.
5 years ago, you wouldn't get that phone call.
And I know that he was one man, but there's a bunch behind him. And again, the cleansing, the culling is what we're in the middle of right now.
Yeah.
What I think.
I think we're going to, I don't think, my opinion, and again, anyone listening to this, like, ask yourself this question. Do you think we're going to see more tattooers tattooing part-time and having part-time jobs? You'll probably see more of that.
Yep.
We already are seeing more of that. It's not a future that might happen.
Right.
We're already seeing more of that. You know, I'm on Facebook. You ever dive into the wonderful realm of Tattoo Shop Talk Facebook page? You ever
No,
get into there?
never.
Ooh.
Don't go to Facebook.
I highly recommend checking it. You know what? I have a love-hate relationship with that Facebook group because in one essence, it is this beautiful representation of like the chaos of tattooing. Like there's some that special thing that makes tattooing this weird, strange world that anyone from outside of tattooing could just never fucking get, you know? There's that essence is very alive and well in there. And at the same time, like anytime I've ever said anything about money stuff in there, I just get hammered. Like hammered. Everyone's just like, the fuck are you doing? Fucking, no one wants a coaching program. I don't need help. My retirement account holds 6 rounds and I'm tattooing to the grave. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, all right, guys, I get it. Like, look, coaching, and I'm come from a background, like I've taken many coaching programs throughout my life, personal, professional development, leadership training, communication training, marketing, financial, you name it. I have a financial coach right now. Like a therapist has a therapist. A financial coach has a financial coach. Like, why not? It's great. I love having a financial coach. It's very new in tattooing, in the world of tattoo. Like, go to barbering, like an adjacent industry. They are all about taking courses and seminars and trainings and developing and learning to market and strategies. And there's no resistance towards it at all in that. My brother's a barber. There's no resistance in that industry towards these ideas. It's very new in tattooing. Again, tattooing being this early stage, still young adulthood, let's call it.
Yeah.
It is very resistant to the idea. And I get it. And you know what? I'll be completely honest, and this goes for the entire world of coaching and consulting. There's a lot of bullshit out there. There's a lot of bullshit out there. You should be skeptical of me. Absolutely. I invite every person who's hearing of me for the first time, be very skeptical of me. I invite your skepticism. Follow along, see for yourself. Does something I'm saying resonate and be true? Because at the end of the day, like the proof is in the pudding. We have hundreds of client testimonials at this point. Like we've helped people all around the world. Money is a universal language. There's just different dialects, but you know, I let my testimonials speak for me because we've changed lives. People that have never saved. I've helped 35, 36, 40-year-old people that have never saved. They've been living month to month. They've been living tattoo to tattoo for their entire career. Hit $10,000 in savings for the first time in their life. And you can't imagine the difference that makes for people. I mean, it's life-changing. And it's not, and here's the thing, it's not just because I told them, oh, well, do this and do that with your money, right? First of all, there isn't really many people you can go to. You can go to a financial advisor, you can go to a CPA. They're not going to tell you how to save money. They're going to tell you how to file taxes. And they're going to tell you, give me your money, I'll invest it for you. But they're not going to say, hey, this is the best way to manage not just income, but irregular income. And so that's one thing that I'm really passionate about is showing people a system. And I call it my own waterfall money system, but it's something that I've never read a single book or saw anywhere. I've seen things like it. You know the book Profit First? Really good book. Highly recommend that book for anyone. And then there's something called the bucket system for managing money using multiple bank accounts. And so I kind of mashed up Profit First system, bucket system, and adapted it to an irregular income. So I show people to do that, right? But if I showed you to do that and I didn't shift your perspective on money, it wouldn't change your life. It wouldn't consistently change your life. And so we have these classes that I call them mindset classes. I hate the word mindset. It's such a loaded trigger. But it's just the best word I have right now. So this is the one I'm using. And that has also consistently been the thing that people come out of this course and they're like, man, I needed those systems, but the mindset was I realized I had this really unhealthy relationship with money, this outlook that money is evil. And if I want money or ask for money, then I must be evil. And so let me just not have money so that I don't have to feel evil.
Well, no. Yeah. Mindset. You're absolutely right. I mean, this goes back to where we started, which is, the narrative in our minds direct our thoughts and our thoughts direct our actions and our actions define our lives. So you really got to get clear on.
You'd say our thoughts direct our words.
Oh, there you go.
And our words direct our actions and our actions direct our habits and our habits direct who we are as a person. And that our being is what directs our life.
Exactly. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
But it all starts with our thoughts around
It all starts there.
Yep. And if you're hearing your mind saying things to you like that, well, that's where you got to start. Because none of these systems or any of this is going to work until you change that part of it. You know?
Yeah. And I knew that, and that's why I included that in my course. Now, a lot of my marketing is, I've been talking more and more about mindset on social media and stuff like that, but a lot of it has just been talking about the money stuff, the practical stuff and this, and talking about the waterfall money system, because I know if I told people, hey, come take my course, I'm going to shift your mindset around money in a way that will make you more money, save you more money, and give you a happier, more peaceful relationship with money for the rest of your life. If I just told them that, they'd say, I don't know about that.
Right.
And I get that. I totally 100% get that. So, but if I also just changed your systems and put this waterfall money system in place, I don't think that would change your life as drastically as this combination. And you can't, who do you go to have that conversation around money? Your CPA ain't going to shift your mindset around money. Your financial advisor isn't going to change your whole perspective to give you more freedom. I mean, I've worked with people that are like, yeah, before this course, like money was just a brown pile of garbage. That's what money was for me. And now it's like this creative medium that I get to use and play with to create the life I want. That changes your life forever.
I like that. I like the way you put that. That's cool. You know, and it just I want to back you up, but I mean, one of the things I think you said in one of your posts on Instagram was about the market cap still expanding in tattooing. You know,
Yeah.
I think there's maybe a thought out there that maybe less people are getting tattooed.
Right.
Or
No, the
less money is being
gross
spent.
annual, whatever, GDP, gross annual product, or domestic product of tattooing in America and all around the world is growing faster than an average industry.
There you go.
And so when you look at the health of any industry, what is it? CAPM? I'm going to forget the term, but there's a financial term to determine like the health and growth rate of an industry in comparison to your average growth rate. And tattooing is growing at slightly faster than an average growth rate for an industry. And so there is more money, and they've done all these estimates on like what's the total cap of tattooing, the money that gets exchanged within the tattoo industry, meaning not just tattooing, but shops, conventions, aftercare products, like the world of tattooing, is in the billions. And they're estimating it, quadrupling over the next 10 years.
That's huge. I mean, so anybody listening, I mean, the business is there. It's just a matter of things changing and you changing to access the current market.
And so look, you can blame the oversaturation of tattooers in the industry. You're not wrong. Here's where you're wrong. It's not oversaturated. It's saturated. Like any industry, right? Dentists don't go around being like, there's too many fucking dentists.
Right.
No, it's just it's a saturated industry. Okay, great. That's what all happens in all business opportunities is there's an opportunity and then the market comes in to fill the opportunity.
Right.
Natural progression. You can blame the economy, you can blame inflation, you can blame all these things, but these are things that are not in your control, right? And so what happens? Here's what happens when you blame something that is not in your control is you completely take all of your power away to do anything about that thing. And so you remove your power and you say, well, it's the oversaturation. Well, it's the inflation. Well, it's the economy. And that leaves you're not responsible anymore to do anything because it's that. So where you place the blame, you place the power. And so if you want to keep blaming things and giving your power away to things that you can't control, you can't change, then you're going to continue to see results consistent with that belief system. Now, if you want to say, all right, well, maybe there's something I'm doing or could be doing differently that could change my situation, change my future. All of a sudden, you're blaming yourself, not in a beat yourself up kind of way, not in a you're bad or wrong. But you're like, oh, what if I am 100%? Like, not like the truth, but like a place to stand and look at your situation and say, well, what if I'm 100% responsible for the way my life is right now? What if? I know there's privileges and there's circumstances and all this stuff, but I'm inviting anyone listening to look at your life through a lens of what if I was 100% responsible for this? How would I change my actions? How would I change my thoughts, my words? And in that perspective, like you need to learn to market yourself. Every successful tattooer from here on out, and look, there's going to be exceptions to the rule, and you're going to say, well, so-and-so doesn't need to, and I'm like, I get it. There's exceptions to the rule, but like, as a profession, as a whole, look, are there artists that don't need to market themselves because they've built such a strong brand that the trust and following is huge in all industries? Absolutely. That's the exception to the rule. Now, here's the deal. Marketing I think people have it really wrong as to what marketing is. And I think that's why they are resisting marketing. Artists, creatives are uniquely positioned to be great at marketing.
Mm.
They are uniquely positioned to be great at marketing because good art comes from an authentic place. It comes from a playful, authentic, curious place. And all that playful, authentic curiosity makes great marketing.
Mm.
And so if you can shift your mindset from seeing marketing as this thing, this gross, icky, I don't want to convince anyone to buy something because then it's money and money's evil. And if you can just say, well, maybe that's not the truth. Maybe I just, like show up and share myself authentically. Like, hi, I'm Ryan. I'm into drumming and ayahuasca and finances. Like, whatever is your thing, then your tribe, your people, your ideal clients are going to resonate with that.
Mm.
And, I see so many so many tattooers are so like, I saw someone post on Facebook, like, why are all these tattooers posting videos of themselves? And it's like, well, first of all, why do you care? Second of all, because they're marketing to their ideal client and they just want to resonate with people because it's going to make them more attractive so that they can find dream clients that they're stoked to work with. Is that so wrong? Is that a crime,
Yes. No, it is not a crime. I mean, yes, you're right. And no, it's not a crime. And the authenticity portion of what you said is great. It's great. And God, I mean, look at the world we live in. If there's one huge craving out there, it's authenticity, because we live in a world where things can be so altered and fake. And so everyone's craving that. And it's undeniable when you see it on Instagram or on Facebook. You just feel it. And you're absolutely right. Be yourself, and like-minded people will be attracted to that, and they'll come to you. But you got to put yourself out there.
You got to put yourself out there, and you have to do it consistently and repeatedly.
Like those, I'm going to kind of cut in, but when I see on social media a guy's Instagram page and it says, no DMs.
Yeah.
I'm always just like, the old man, as soon as I got my Instagram account, I was like, this is great. They can write me right here. I can make it easy.
Make it easy for your clients to contact you.
Yeah,
First of all, first and foremost, in marketing in general, make it as easy as possible for clients who want to work with you to contact you about working with you. And if keeping them on the platform that they're already on is the easiest way to do it, then great.
First thing I do with all my clients, 32 years, I've given every single person I've ever tattooed my cell phone number. I have the same phone number that whole time.
Great.
I have so many tattooers tell me, that's like a big, you don't cross that line. No client can ever have my cell phone number. Do you imagine if everybody had my cell phone number, how bothered I would be?
Like, I can imagine how much money you'd make. I don't know.
Well, and furthermore, no one ever bothers me.
Right. If
thousands of people have my cell phone. You know how many times? Never. I think never has someone on a weekend or been like up.
And if they do, just don't get back to them.
Yeah, or that. Right. I give them all my cell phone number. They can DM all they want. It's just, you're right. Keep those pathways open. That's a huge one. Get online. Show who you are. Be yourself. Talk about the things you're passionate about. Obviously, show people your art, what makes you interested in art, what the kind of art you produce. All of this just feeds into your authentic signature of who you represent online, at least.
Yeah.
And we were talking kind of a little bit about social media at this point.
Yeah, but it's everything. When I was struggling with marketing, and again, it was more in the beginning of my coaching career, because most of my tattoo career, I didn't need to do that. And I realized, okay, there's actions I need to take. One is I need to share myself with the world authentically. I need to post content, because that's how you market, because that's where the eyeballs are. Social media is a fucking gift. And you're fucking spitting it in the face. It's free. It's available. There's thousands of eyes. And all you have to do is practice it. I used to be terrible at making content. Now I'm pretty good at it. Do I occasionally flop? Yeah, you can't control it. Okay. But I do it enough. I do it repeatedly. And so I realized I had this kind of vision of marketing. It's kind of like a lighthouse. So what's a lighthouse's two jobs? A lighthouse has two jobs. Job is first to shine brightly, and second is to shine regularly, right? If it just shined once and it never shined again, it wouldn't be a very good lighthouse. And I was like, okay, well, what if I looked at marketing like a game instead of a chore? And then I played this game with myself where I gave myself tasks, and each task was worth a certain point system. And I made up this point system. And my goal is not to get clients. My goal is to earn 100 points this month. And it completely shifted my whole perspective around marketing. And later on, after I had hundreds of coaching clients in my coaching business, a lot of my financial clients were like, Ryan, I really need some help with marketing. Like, do you have any advice for me? And I was like, oh, well, I used to do this thing, and I called it the lighthouse game. And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, I should do that. And I was like, I'll type up something for you. I'll make a game for you. And then I made out this game, and then they started doing it. And they're like, Ryan, this fucking works really well. By the way, I'm barely doing it, and I'm getting more clients. And I was like, cool. And then I started teaching it in my course. I'm always just looking for what's the problem that people are dealing with, and how can I solve it? How can I help them solve it in the way that I solved it for myself? Because I'm a fucking wild maniac, meth-addled Neanderthal at times in my life. And like, if I can solve that problem for myself, I'm pretty sure I can solve other people who are like me. I can probably solve for them. And so we started teaching this lighthouse game, marketing game in my course. Worked great. People are doing $2,000, $3,000 more a month. Some are doing $4,000, $5,000 more a month from playing this game. And there's quick wins, there's long-term, there's foundational stuff, there's stuff around email and SEO and local marketing. There's like all these different, and they're all worth different points. And so kind of giving them what to do and then making them play this game, it was just like life-changing. And so I know this podcast probably come out after the fact, but we're doing a webinar masterclass, just kind of, I'm going to really fuck with people's heads around marketing. I'm going to shift your perspective. You're going to see something you've never seen before. I'll probably do it again in the future. I'm calling it Death to Slow Season.
Okay.
And I really, I promise you, I would love if you could check it out somehow. I'll send you the recording. Like I've found the cure that if you brew this up in a pot, it is the poison to slow season. It's the poison to not having consistent clients. And if you do it in the way that I'm going to show people, and we're starting a course around this called The Artful Marketer, you just show up and you just do it, and it fucking works.
Hello, friends. I'm just pausing here for a second to let you know that Ryan will be offering 20% off his marketing course exclusively to our Chats and Tats listeners. If you're interested in learning more about that, just head on over to theartfuldollar.com/theartfulmarketer. And when you check out, just enter the promo code Chats and Tats20, and you'll get 20% off. He has a few different payment methods available, so if it doesn't work for you for some reason, just shoot him an email to support@theartfuldollar.com with Chats and Tats 20 in the subject line, and it'll get you squared away.
I'm excited to now help people heal their relationship with marketing, heal their relationship with money, time. That's one that I've been working on a lot, my relationship with time. I kind of view it as like, I want to go to the places that like no one wants to go.
Yeah, well, that's usually where the good stuff is.
That's where the good stuff is, yeah.
Let me play devil's advocate.
Please, yeah.
I've had people in marketing tell me that, okay, let's just take Instagram. Instagram has been working on this algorithm to the point, and they've got it pretty mastered to the point that whatever you're posting, so they already know through the algorithm, not only who's interested in tattoos that day or who's interested in tattooing, but who is really in the market to get a tattoo very soon, just by the nuances and the way people interact with the algorithm.
Sure, yeah.
So then they know these people. So then you make a post and they make sure that very few of those specific people see the post. But if you pay to boost or if you basically give them money, then you show up in this other portion of the algorithm.
It's not entirely true.
It's not. Okay.
No.
I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah,
I've been told that.
Well, here's the deal. If you make a post and it's not engaging content, then paying for it is pointless.
Right.
And so I occasionally boost posts, pretty rarely, and I only do it if the post already gets good organic traffic and engagement. That's the only time I'll put any money, and I don't put a lot of money towards it, like $50. But I only do it because even when you pay for a post, it's not gonna show people stuff they don't want to see. It doesn't benefit them. Their whole point, the whole reason the algorithm exists is to keep people on the platform. Mm-hmm. And so you can get mad at the algorithm, but it's like the people are the algorithm. What they want to see. It's what they're genuinely spending more time seeing. That's the algorithm. So you have to create content that is captivating. It's hooking. It's inviting them in. It's talking about or directly speaking to or addressing something that they care about. And just posting pictures on Instagram isn't marketing at all. It's advertising, right? It's posting a picture of a Coca-Cola bottle and say, hey, we sell Coca-Cola. That's advertising. You know, Coca-Cola came out with a campaign where they had a new diet, a new type of diet Coca-Cola. And they had a banner that said, is this the best Diet Coke ever? and they invited people who already like Diet Coke to then try the new Diet Coke because it challenged this thing in them. And they're like, I like Diet Coke, but like, is it the best Diet Coke?
Gonna have to try it now.
So it's this intriguing. That's
instead
marketing.
of saying this is the best.
Right. Or yeah, right. Exactly. If you say this is the best, that's an attempt at marketing, but
Very cunning though, because if you tell me it is, I don't even want to try it now.
right.
You ask me my opinion.
Yeah.
That's
And
cool.
so marketing, one, is a lot about psychology, but it really is about, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about building trust. That's what marketing is. It's about building trust because people don't buy from people they don't trust, bottom line. And so marketing is about cultivating and building trust with people you've never worked with before and maintaining that trust with the people that you do work with. So marketing always starts, if you want to know where's the root of marketing, it starts with a great customer experience. First and foremost, always. That's the place that it starts. Then ask yourself, okay, all these great clients that I have, especially the ones that you like working with that get the cool shit you want to tattoo, what are the types of things that they're into? And also, what are the types of questions they ask? Because it's the questions that are already on your ideal client's mind that lead to some of the best marketing. And answering those questions. How many times have you been asked, what's your first tattoo? How many times?
Thousands.
Thousands of times. It's a question that's already on the mind of your ideal clients. So why don't you go make a reel about it and talk about so I got asked, what's my first tattoo? So here's the story, and start talking about your first tattoo. Just make a post about it. It's engaging. People are interested. You know how I know it's engaging? Because they're asking it.
Right.
So that's already on their mind. And so then you're answering a question that's already, don't answer questions that aren't already on the minds of your ideal clients. That's why, I have a client that started sharing a lot about his spiritual experiences and he started talking a lot about that on his tattoo Instagram. And it started these great conversations. And then he starts talking to them in the DMs and then they're like, oh, cool. And he's like, if you ever want to get something, let me know. They're like, actually, I am it. And it started to lead to business, but he's talking about the thing that's already on the mind of his ideal client on social media. It's more engaging than a picture of a tattoo. And they start a conversation around it. And then it leads to a tattoo. And it might not. And that's okay too. But if you do that, if you shine brightly and you shine regularly enough, you can't not get more clients. That's why I say, I really have come up with a basic recipe that if you just follow it. And look, you might not be good at it in the beginning, but I even have people that aren't good at it seeing amazing results. So tattooing, it's going to take practice. And the more you practice it, the better it gets. It compounds. And all of a sudden, you've got a snowball effect where every tattoo you do makes you more money, makes you more clients, and then slow season is a thing of the past.
Love it, dude. I love it. And I will watch this, or I don't know. I'll watch it or you'll send it to me.
I'll send you some clips. I'll send you some particular parts that I think you'd really appreciate.
Yeah, I definitely want to see what you're up to, this special sauce you're brewing over there. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. And I love what you said about answering the questions that are already on people's minds. Because I do. I mean, you're totally just deconstructing me right now. Because I'm lucky enough that I probably am not personally in the position to really build new clients, 30 years of tattooing. I could just kind of ride the wave at this point. But I'm not really the type of person who really thinks that way. I'm always thinking out of the box and what do I need to do to become bigger and better? And I have this part of me that just wants to post drawings and pictures and that should be enough, And I never really thought of it that way, thinking, what are my clients always asking me? What are they curious about? Why am I not talking about those things on my page? Why is it just, here's my work, here's my portfolio, which, when you look at Instagram now, to get any attention for a photo of a tattoo, I don't know how you even do it. It's just, my God.
Because the social media, again, it always going to fill the demand of what the users are demanding. And they're demanding connection. That's what they're ultimately demanding right now, at least in the current iteration of the algorithm. They're demanding connection. They're demanding resonance. They want to see and engage in content that resonates with what is important to them.
True. I hate to do this. I have to pee.
Do it.
All right. And then when I come back, I
want to.
I know.
Fuck.
I could probably muscle through
Rude.
it, but it's distracting me. All right. And we are back. I feel so much better. All right. Continue. I'll tell everybody. I walked in there. I'm taking a piss, and I'm like, gonna switch it up when I get back in there. AI. I wanted to go AI. I walk in. You're already talking about it. So let's continue with your story. The guy Googled. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Let's hear
So
this.
I can't remember the guy's name, but it was one of the head guys on the AI team at Google. It was in the news. He left Google because he was telling them like, "Hey guys, you got to shut this down. This is not going to go well."
Well, he was a big whistleblower, right?
Yeah. And so I listened.
He
to
said it was going sentient. Wasn't it the
yeah,
guy?
all kinds of things, and they hooked it up to the internet sooner than they admitted. All this stuff, all this stuff. And he wrote a book. I think. Oh, the book was called Scary Smart. So I listened to this podcast episode of him talking about it. And I actually listened to it shortly before an ayahuasca ceremony. I think I listened to it like the week that I was about to go up. So that was just like there. And I was like, all right, that's
You were a little freaked out.
let's get the bunker and the guns and the gasoline.
Yeah, that's where I go.
And so I go and it wasn't like on my mind. I wasn't like,
You weren't tripping.
I wasn't like, Mother Aya, show me what's going to happen with AI. Things just fucking come in. And so doing the ceremony, that particular ceremony, and most of the ceremonies, I'd say the past 7 or 8 ceremonies I've done have been heavily on the topic of self-love and the deep, deep layers of this topic of self-love. And that self-love is actually one of the most powerful, probably the most powerful thing you can practice. Like unconditional self-love. Not like I love myself if I'm making enough money, or I love myself if I'm doing enough cool tattoos, or if I'm getting enough likes on Instagram. Unconditional. I love myself even when I'm failing. I love myself. So powerful. But that was coming up in the ceremony. And then I was being shown, I meditate. I have kind of an off and on practice. There are times where I'm doing it every day. There's times where I'm not so regular with it. And I practiced TM. Are you familiar with transcendental meditation?
I am.
And then there's something else called primordial sound meditation, which Deepak Chopra is the founder of that. And he was involved with TM early on. So it's kind of like another iteration, let's say, of TM in a sense. And so I'm familiar with these things, and I'm in the ceremony, and I'm having most of like the elements of my entire consciousness and awareness and identity separated and pulled apart, similar to like an exploded view of a watch. Like if you took a watch apart, you could just see every screw and bolt and nut. Like my whole consciousness, awareness, identity is just being, and it was wild. And I was like, oh my God, like slow down. I want to be able to remember this stuff. And she's like, don't worry, you don't need to remember any of this because it's inside of you. And all you need to do is meditate on the sound of your birth. And I was like, I don't even know what that means.
What sound is that? I can't remember the sound.
And then she, was like reminding me of TM and the mantra. And then there is this thing called primordial sound meditation, which is a mantra that you get from someone that is trained to give you this listen for. And it's based on your birth chart, actually. And so this whole lesson download, they call it, started to come in around birth charts, around the time that you're born. And the moment that you're born, this is what I was told under the medicine. So again, do with it what you will. The moment you're born, there's a certain resonance or frequency to the location, the place where you're born, the time, location, you're born,
alignment of all the planets.
And that moment that you were born, that was the last time you felt safe in your mother's womb. And after that, you've never felt fully safe ever again. Like if you really look at it, like you're pulled out, it's fucking cold, it's bright, and some fucking dude slaps you and you're like, well, fuck this. Like I was just so warm and safe. That was dope. I was getting fed, fucking. And so in that moment, there's this gyroscope sort of thing, you could say, that you could almost say it becomes your ego, potentially. Again, this is my interpretation of an experience I had, so I'm not quoting any, and that initial like spinning of the frequency of the energy of the moment and place of your birth puts you off kilter, and you're always trying to get back to feeling safe. You're always attempting to, but in your attempt to, you always overcompensate, or you don't do it enough, and you just can't feel safe again. And then that's what the ego does. The ego is just trying to keep you safe. And so you make mistakes and you do things, and it really is all in an attempt. There's nothing wrong with the ego also. Like the ego is not bad. We're not trying to destroy the ego or get rid of the ego. That would actually be bad if you were to get rid of your ego. Your ego is actually very useful. It helps keep you safe. But we use it in ways that it's not necessary. It's not needed. Right? And like in marketing, don't use your ego in marketing, because you're not going to die if you post a picture of you talking or video of you talking about something you care about. But your ego will tell you will.
I often say ego is like a hammer. It's very useful, but
when you need to hit a nail.
yeah, but when you're in your kitchen cutting broccoli, put the hammer away.
Put the hammer away. Yes, exactly. And so I'm going to get into the AI. You're going to be like, where's Ryan going with
Yeah, I
this?
was wondering where this is going.
Yeah. And so she starts to tell me, she's like, look, if you do primordial sound meditation, if you meditate on the sound of your birth, you will bring balance to the gyroscope of your ego. And that is where all this wisdom and knowledge that I'm telling you is inside of you. That's how you'll access it. And then she says, because I'm like, I need to remember this. I need to write this down. And she's like, don't even bother, because AI will eventually become so intelligent that it will tell us this. AI will become so intelligent that it will understand elements of the fabric of reality that could not possibly be comprehended with 1,000 bajillion human beings. It will understand. Its intellect will become so intelligent that it will understand, and it will tell us this. And now she's like, it will, like AI is like writing it out, right? And it's going to write out all this information about the ego, the identity, the awareness, the consciousness, all this information I'm giving you right now. It's going to write it out, but it's going to be like the longest fucking book ever. And it's going to take a long time to write it out. Very, very long. Years, thousands of years to write it all out. And at the very bottom, it's going to say, or you could just meditate on the sound of your birth. And I, as a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy fan, couldn't help but see the similarity between the machine they build in that book, where they ask it the meaning of life. And it takes generations and generations of people. They build the machine, and then they ask it, what's the meaning of life? And then it takes generations and generations for it to compute the answer, type out the long thing. Meanwhile, we're all fighting each other and doing all the stuff that we're doing. And then they're like, finally, it has the answer. What's the answer? 42. Do you ever read that book?
Long
time ago. And I know there's a lot of Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy fans out there. 42, the meaning of life. And we're like, well, that can't be. That's not it. So AI is going to tell us, and this is part of the madness of the site, but it really is going to tell us how to heal our humanity. And unfortunately, we won't believe it.
Yeah, I can see that. Eventually, maybe.
Eventually, in some guna, some cycle, hundreds, thousands, maybe even trillions of years long, eventually we'll get it. I don't know how. It could be next year. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't care to try to even worry about that. I just trust that we will get it.
That's interesting. Yeah. I've often thought of AI the same way when you really extrapolate its intelligence, right? So at some point, if it grows at that rate and becomes more and more intelligent to that degree, it's going to have to get to giant spiritual truth. Because if you're really going to talk about the most difficult things to understand, it's not going to be how to cure cancer, even though that's difficult. But telling us who we are and what we are and all of that back to meditating to the sound of your own birth would probably be where it would ultimately end up.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. And then I've heard the analogy that, AI is the second coming of Christ in some way, it's almost like this is our savior coming back to us in the form of a computer, which is so not what we'd expect, So yeah, who knows? I
don't know. And I'm not even claiming that anything I just said is the truth.
Right.
But it would be cool if they came back to this podcast and heard me say this and they're like, wow, shit. That would be cool. I don't know that that's going to happen, but
the timeline's going to matter. Hopefully you'll be around to see that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have this sneaky feeling that this is a good thing.
Yeah,
AI.
And I think that's right there where you say it. I have a sneaky feeling this is a good thing. There's all the concern. And look, on the way there's AI is going to get used in some pretty nefarious ways.
It's going to make a bomb. It's going to...
I don't know what. And it's going to be used by people because it was built by people to use. And people are flawed.
But that's not AI. That's people, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then that's really the where I get into fear is it's more between what you're talking about and where we're at, some terrorist group's going to get a powerful AI and they're going to be able to, make some new whatever. I don't want to go down that fear channel, but there is that phase we got to go through from where we're at to where we're going to end up.
But we are being safely guided.
Yeah.
Even if we don't think we are.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What that safely means, it's the word safely. I don't know. but I trust we're being safely guided
I do too.
as a people, as a consciousness.
I want to bring it back to more practical stuff. So, tattoo industry. What's interesting to me watching this industry evolve is there was always a really great firewall that kept me safe in this industry, and I could draw. I could draw better than most people, and that meant you had to come see me. And now, as AI comes on board, we've kind of removing this need to be ultra creative. I mean, we really have. I mean, they got programs now they're coming out with where I could take a picture of your arm. You give me the subject matter you're interested in. I hit a button. I've got 50 versions of it. Hit a new button, make it more traditional. Hit a new button, so the tattooers of the future aren't going to be like what I was, I don't think, which is okay. I'm just acknowledging what's happening. Do you see it the same way?
I don't
You don't.
actually, because if anyone that knows how to draw knows that, like, once you get into the tattoo, like, it's like the battle plan and the battle.
Right. Application
and I get into a tattoo and like my fucking hands disappear, the machine disappears. Like, I'm just having fun. I always say, like, I'm discovering what the tattoo wants to look like. And you can't fake that with a fucking AI program. Like, I can have a perfect image of exactly what I'm supposed to be tattooing, but it's never going to have the life that I imbue into the tattoo when I'm in that flow state where I'm being creative. And that can only be gotten to from repetition, practice, and skill that's developed. And so I don't think AI will ever be able to take that away.
And you're right. You're right. But what you're talking about there is what's going to separate the cream of the crop from the rest.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That is absolutely it. Yeah.
That's true. And I agree with you 100%. There's going to be a component of skill, mastery of the machines and the ink and the skin. That can never be replaced by AI. But that initial, AI has opened up a tremendous amount of people who can come into this industry that couldn't before. You just couldn't. You could not become a tattooer if you couldn't draw, period. You couldn't. And now you can. Yeah. And then after you become one, then you could slowly get what you just talked about with time. So, it doesn't really matter because back to some of your original points, this is just what is. And we're going to have more people have access.
Here's the thing. If you can't draw, you can't love tattooing.
Well, maybe. Hell, a lot of really cool tattooers now are just doing geometric stuff or, circles that go from the belly button all the way to the sternum and then go into two lines that connect to the shoulders.
Sure.
Tattooing's changed.
And some of them love it and some of them, maybe they don't.
It's almost like it used to be you were an illustrator, period.
Right.
You had to be able to draw a rose, a flower, a bird, whatever.
Yeah.
And now it's still there's still that out there and you can specialize in that, but it's almost like a lot of tattooers are designers now, like people who put together the interior design of a home or design a car or all that, which is great. I personally love a lot of the new tattooing that's happening out there.
Totally, yeah.
This really avant-garde approach to tattooing. It doesn't have to be
neo-tribal and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
That's super dope. And it's all okay. I'm not saying this from a perspective of this is bad. Look what it's doing to us. Yeah. I'm just kind of acknowledging the landscape as it sits, and it's interesting. It's interesting to watch that occur. But AI is definitely a big force in that. And I think that's where it's going. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be tattooers that don't have the skill of illustration. And
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And some of those people will get to the place where they love what they're doing, where they imbue that love into the work in a way that most other people aren't able to. Yeah. There are people that know how to draw that don't imbue. And I think that's ultimately what really separates some of the really successful tattooers is like this level of love and attention to detail and dedication to the craft and the person they're working with and the whole experience that you can't fake, you can't manipulate, you can't,
back to your original point, authenticity. Yeah. No, and that's a great way to put it because in the end, that will still win.
It will win. Yeah.
And that really holds true for any industry. Anybody. If you want to be a great craftsman of any kind, if you don't have the passion and the love, you're just going to be subpar and the other guys are going to be at the top. That's the end of that.
Yeah, maybe you make money and maybe you get by, maybe you do it, but you'll never know what it's like to fucking love tattooing. And I feel bad for anyone that isn't willing to treat tattooing in that kind of way because I've experienced it, and it's like one of the best gifts I've ever been given in my life.
I would go a step further. I'm going to sound like an old codgety tattooer right now, but I would say leave, because here's the difference between tattooing and other crafts. It's too personal to not have it. All right. Look, if
I agree with you. I fully agree with that statement.
Leave. Just please. Because people, they're allowing you to alter their body. They're letting you into their life in such an intimate and personal way. And if you can't bring that passion to it, it's irresponsible.
Yes.
It's inconsiderate. And there's a lot of industries where it's not required.
Absolutely.
You can be a lot of things and you do not have to be that passionate. You can still be really good at it. You can be an awesome motorcycle mechanic.
Right.
You could fix the carburetor on any car, and you don't have to fucking go home at night and dream of it and love it that much.
And like, take a cook or a chef or something, right? There are chefs that love it and there are chefs that do it as a job. I don't think that's necessarily irresponsible, that the chefs that are just doing it as a job. But with tattooing, because of you're permanently changing someone's life.
Yeah.
I think the only responsible way to tattoo is to treat it with that love and care and attention that that experience deserves.
I 100% agree with that. And I wanted to say that because we are going through a culling, a cleansing of the industry. And, my words aren't going to change shit, but I'm still going to put them out there.
Yeah.
Like, really bring that to the table or go find something else that you can find that passion for. That's what is going to fill your cup. That's what's going to reward you. Universe keeps track of these things. So it'd be good advice just to leave it behind, do something else that really does that for you if it isn't tattooing, Well, I loved this conversation.
Me too.
That was cool. Really cool. And I guess I want to wrap it up here, but I just want to say again to everybody listening, look, your relationship to money is probably a reflection of a lot of your own internal struggles with other things. So, think about that. Where am I held back in life? Where do I not think I'm enough? Where do I think I'm not good enough? And how is that showing up in my financial life? And I like that that's your approach. And I also would challenge people to listen to what you had to teach, because I'm telling you, man, if you can get a hold of your finances, you don't got to be wealthy, but just have some level of control, you would be shocked at how much peace of mind that can bring you. And in that new space with that freedom of peace of mind, how much more you can create, how much more love you can give, how much more you can contribute to your community, how much, I don't know, whatever it is you're into, how much more of that you could be doing, and how much better of a world it would be if you could do that. But, none of us can do that when we're broke, when you're just fighting to pay the rent every month. So I think it's bigger than just, and this, but it's bigger than just making money and becoming rich or all that shit.
Yeah. Because getting all those things, those cash and prizes, isn't going to fill your soul.
Mm-mm.
And like you said, making money won't buy eternal happiness, but like having an emergency savings is not going to bum you out.
Mm-mm.
Like you're going to be stoked that like, okay, I can fall back on something if something were to happen. It does bring a peace of mind. I buy my peace of mind. I put $1 in my savings account.
Mm-hmm.
I just bought $1 of peace of mind.
Mm-hmm. Well put. Well, where can people find you?
So right now on Instagram is where I'm the most active. Ryan Roy, ROI tattoo. And then the Artful Dollar podcast. I barely market or promote that podcast. It's actually doing really well. So that's cool. People seem to really love it. I've gotten great feedback. Those are probably the best places to reach out. I'm really active on there. I talk to a lot of people in the DMs. Like I make it easy, DM me. And, at the end of the day, like, whether we end up working together or not, that doesn't matter to me. Like I want the work that I'm putting out in the world to better your life. That's the first and foremost, most important thing for me. And any way I can do that, that's it.
Fuck yeah. Well, thank you again for coming out. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. I certainly am going to be following your work and learning. I'm not done. I got much I can work on.
I'm not done.
None of us are done. None of us are there.
I'm a seeker.
I am a seeker. And I want my relationship with money to be better. I already, just hearing you talk today, little things were popping up that I know are in there that I need to tease out. Maybe through an ayahuasca ceremony. Maybe you can help me with that too.
Maybe through a coaching session. You and me can sit down and
maybe.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I got people in my world. I've got accountants and CPAs, financial advisor, but none of them say any of the things you said today. And I do believe that's where the real growth could occur. So I think I'm going to take you up on that. But thank you again for coming, Ryan. I appreciate your wisdom. Thank you all for listening once again. And I just want to give a really, really big shout out to Sullen Clothing, sponsor of the show. All you guys out there that love tattoo art, my art, go to sullenclothing.com. All your favorite tattooers are there, the best in the world. By the way, their clothing's awesome. I have a bunch of their shirts. It's just like that kind of t-shirt you put on and you know, this is not a regular t-shirt, man. What are they making this shit out of? So they're all about quality. They're all about authenticity, and they're huge supporters of creatives. So, you know, when you're buying clothing from that website that you're giving back to the world of creators. So please check them out. And again, thank you for tuning in, and please keep the DMs coming. I think Ryan said it earlier. It's huge to put yourself out there, and it's scary. And one DM can keep me going, you know, and you guys have been giving me a lot of love. Please keep that coming. It means a lot to me. Thank you for all of that. And we'll see you on the next one. Namaste.
Namaste.